paid cash, which is very interesting.
Well, the other thing that I thought was really interesting was the fact that people aren't washing their cars on weekends anymore. And I thought that was a really interesting analogy that I hadn't heard before or mentioned recently. Anyway, here we go.
Ready, set, go.
Coming to you live, it's the Auto Hub Show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubinstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Can't figure out what to do for this.
I was at Larry Coleman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So,
Told you,
Borrás, take advantage.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I've found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell, I'm Service Director at JM Lexus.
Good morning and welcome. So today we're talking about the fixed ops department, sometimes underrepresented department. One second here. There we go. So I picked a couple books. Chris Cullen's actually the person who was the video this morning. So if you're familiar with Chris, he's written a bunch of books on service. I will eventually get him on the show. I've been chasing him for a while. He's interesting. He's also a big Bulldog fan, if you're a fan of them. How cars work, I thought was pertinent just because we are in the car business. So actually understanding how they work might be good. And then 5-star service advisor. There's a lot of focus on sales, but service advisors are salespeople. So they also retain customers and coincidentally generate a lot of revenue. I was actually at Dave's dealership for the show last week in Alberta, and he was showing me his 20 group results. He has a small dealership near Calgary, and he was best in the 20 group for service revenue. So I was really impressed based on the fact that he just has a very small dealership in a small city outside of Calgary, but his numbers are impressive. Jeff, talk about our disclaimer.
Not a problem. One comment I wanted to make, those of you being a fixed ops show, they understand this. You don't need a big shop to make a lot of money. You know, you have 4 bays and you set your hours up right and 4 10s, et cetera, or whatever, and maybe 3 12s and everything else. And you can fill that up like a 20-bay shop, in my humble opinion. And our disclaimer there, which of course is proudly displayed behind me, which is the views and opinions of those shared today are those of our guests and not necessarily that of the Auto Hub Show or Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo. But what the heck, you never know.
All righty. So we will be live at NIADA, next week in Las Vegas, the end of next week, I think it is, the 19th. So definitely, if you're going to be at the show, reach out to Jeff or myself. We are going to be booking guests for the live shows, and we will be doing our signature ambush interviews as well live at the show. And if you're going to be in Las Vegas, we'd love to, meet up with you for dinner or lunch or whatever it takes. Also, the show is the largest independent dealer show in the U.S. There's 120,000 independent dealers in the U.S. market alone. And based on the market stuff that I've seen from NIADA, 90% of the attendees are dealers, just so you know. Fixed operations show is what we're talking about today. And if you are in the Greater Toronto area, Used Car Week Toronto is kicking off around the same time, just so you know. Also, don't miss our show on the chat bots. We're going to be doing that show later this month. Stay tuned for more details. I think chat bots are definitely interesting, and we're going to have a bunch of the heavy hitters on to talk about chat and is AI or chat bots the future of customer experience. So let's get into it, Mr. Jeff.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that this is the virtual assistant that actually looks like Jeff Polo, who's going to virtually ask the questions by Chat GPT. Yes, I said JPT. And good morning, everybody. And we have a slate of guests all signed up today. Two of them actually miscalculated the timing and are rushing to try and log in. One problem with having a show that spans all the time zones and going live is sometimes we figure things out differently, and especially today when you get some areas are daylight time, some areas are not. It's a bit of a mishmash of things, but nevertheless, we have some pretty smart people on board here, and the talking heads at the top of what I see on my screen, the least of the smart people. So the first guest to introduce here is our new good friend, Brian Moates, and hopefully, Brian, I pronounced it right. You never know, and everybody likes things a little bit differently. And so, Brian, if you could do me a favor, if you could introduce yourself and answer, oh my gosh, answer this question for me, please. Today, how are fix ops doing? All we're hearing lately is the front end. Oh, look at this, and they're ripping people off, and they're 10 grand over MSRP, etc. So in the back end, is it really true that to get people in quicker, we're getting $15 an hour over just to fit them in? I'm kidding. Introduce yourself, please, and tell us just generally how's fixed ops doing in this crazy new world we have.
Well, so it's a pleasure to be here and happy to be one of your new friends. Happy to have met you guys and found you guys and spent some time the last few Mondays with you. But so my background, I come, long story. I could tell you the entire long story, but ultimately rebuilt my first engine when I was 5 years old. Was ASE certified by the time I was 18. Very fortunate to get to drive race cars for many years and go to Purdue University, get an engineering degree, and then land kind of in the human capital space or development side of what we do as an industry with training and recruiting, onboarding, development, process development, biopsychology, kind of looking at the culture, how we build processes, how we do things inside the organization, and then worked for Ford and Lincoln for 7 years, specifically the last years of that, with Lincoln helping redefine the entire consumer experience, luxury consumer experience for Lincoln, driving them from worst to first in J.D. Power SSI, and kind of redefining them as a luxury brand, and ultimately the experience that went along with that, because that's really what creates the luxury experience. Is not necessarily the vehicle, but the experience happens inside the dealership, and a lot of that happens in fixed ops, which is where 90% of the interaction with consumers actually happens over the lifespan of a vehicle ownership. And as far as, when it comes to, fixed ops, I think holistically, financially, fixed ops are doing well. I currently work for a company called Repair Pal, which is driving, really kind of validation, verification of fair pricing and quality in the fixed ops space. And what we see is that, comparatively to third-party shops, which is what generally consumers, why they leave dealerships, to the tune of 70 to 80%, 70% even just during the routine maintenance, and 80%, after their warranty expires, they leave, mainly due to 70% due to the perception that dealerships are more expensive, and it's just not true. And our data ultimately shows and proves that. And so, to your point, I think fixed ops is doing well. They're busier than they've ever been, mostly from a financial performance perspective, but suffering through all the challenges that we all hear about with, you know, all the, you know, parts pricing, parts availability, and logistics, and all the things that are happening there. They're struggling with that just like anybody else is. But I really go to kind of the heart when it comes to what, you know, how they're doing, financially doing well. I would say holistically, Fixed Ops still does not understand, and ultimately dealer leadership doesn't understand that, you know, this is where the bulk of obviously the revenue is generated inside the dealership, but yet we don't put any effort into the mindset that they are there to provide customer service, no different than a Ritz-Carlton, a Disney, a Chick-fil-A, really understanding that their job is to create that experience. And that's where I think probably the biggest challenges exist, are putting organizational systems in place in the service department to really continue on and drive that long-term customer loyalty and that trust, you know, that we're looking for when it comes to the consumer experience and long-term customer loyalty.
Well, thank you very much. That's a great point. And as you're talking there, I'm reminding myself of the I don't know why it was a failed GM experiment of Saturn, and their cars sucked. They were just weird little cars. They weren't very reliable. And yet the whole experience, somebody took a look at that and didn't say, well, the non-negotiable front end, the little evidence manuals, the processes, it extended to the back end too. It extended to service, and people's experience was great. And on that car, frankly, they had to, because they were in the service department a lot, but people were happy. And then, you know, that's something that you mentioned too, that we tend to forget in this business. A lot of dealer principals don't really get fixed ops. They take a look at the numbers, they can talk absorption rates, they can do all that stuff till they're blue in the face. But when it comes to what actually happens there, they don't know. We like to think, and Peter and I'm going to ask Peter this question in just a second then too. Peter and I talked about this lots, how we've changed, and no, we haven't. And we've run back to the times when, well, you want to get your car into service, I don't have any time for you. Sorry. But Peter, what do you think about this? I know you're not in fixed ops, but you're in dealership ops. And, you know, what do you think? How is your experience on fixed ops these days?
Well, it's pretty simple. We look at the car business, collectively, the people on this panel, as the car business. We understand it's a business. We have to, there's so many different segments. I hate saying silos. I hate saying verticals. It's a business as a whole, and we have to look at it from the customer's perspective inwards, because it's the customer that pays everything. So, and I've said it in the chat side of this call, I've said experience is everything. If we cannot provide the experience that the customer is wanting, they're going to go elsewhere. It's already proven that we're losing 70% of the customers once they purchase the car. That's including warranty work. They'll go to another dealer for warranty work. So it's how we're really transferring that experience in the sales operation to the service operation, and vice versa backwards. We have to start working as a team, and we're not doing that because there's this giant wall that we throw the customer over every single time we have a transaction. So we sell the car, and then we throw them over that service wall, and we hope that they're going to be looked after in service without any introductions, without any game plan moving forward, without focusing on what their experience is going to be. Because it's said, and Brian said it on a call with me, and I know Larry has said it, and a number of other people said it, is sales sells the first one, service sells the next one. And we got to focus on that whole thing. I'm heading to Michigan tomorrow to a big dealer in Michigan for 2 weeks to focus strictly on fixed ops. Now, again, I'm not in fixed ops, I'm in dealership ops. And it's all going to be changing the culture, relationship, and everything that the customer is feeling to manage that moving forward.
Hey, can I jump in real quick? In your introduction, Jeff, you said we're all in the car business. I don't know about the rest of you, I'm not in the damn car business, I'm in the people business. And the problem with fixed ops is the same problem with variable. We forget that it's about the people. That's why we have these stupid phone prompts and you can't talk to people and we don't know how to greet people properly and we're not on the same page. I mean, you still have dealers that aren't doing sales service meetings. So it's like they all hate each other and they don't communicate. So that's all. People, not cars.
Exactly.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to turn to Paul now, who turned in a little late. I heard that that everything was bouncing off Alpha Centauri on his tech things and his connections. But Paul, thanks for jumping in real quick there. I know it was a little bit of a rush thing there, and we arranged Paul in advance. Paul, I'm going to get you. Oh boy, there was my tongue twist for the day. I'm going to get you introduce yourself and answer the question: is what is the state of fixed ops today? The fact that we're in a world of where we're actually offering a commodity, it seems, at the moment.
All right, Paul Meijer. I do a bunch of things. I do sales training, I do marketing, and we have a retail yarn shop. So we kind of cover all the different areas. The one thing that's common to all of them is customer service experience. That's what makes any business successful. Now, in relation to the state of the fixed ops today, we're kind of in an interesting spot, right? Fixed ops has always been the glue that held everything together. We all know the term absorption, and that's always been something that people strive for 100%. But the reality is most of them didn't reach it. Then comes the pandemic, where artificial economy jets profits into the stratosphere, right? The idea of Zoom sometimes does this funky stuff at the background. I have no idea what
Scary.
it is. I don't use Zoom. I use a different platform.
That's okay.
Wait a minute, just a second. I think you might be beamed over to somewhere. You're disappearing.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
The transformation is happening. As we speak.
The aliens are coming.
Hey, Paul, before you jumped on, I said it's all about the people, not the tech, and now you've been eaten alive by the Matrix. My point is well taken.
That's really, really scary and crazy. Anyway, so where I was going was, so these crazy profits, everybody's focusing on the front end, everybody's pounding their chest what heroes they are, when in fact it had nothing to do with their sales prowess. It had everything to do with there being 20 customers, 5 cars, and the order of the day, the talk track was, take it or leave it, because if you don't want it, we've got plenty of people behind you that are willing to buy it. So fixed ops have, again, dropped off the radar, but now that the economy is changing back to one that favors the consumer, now all of a sudden fixed ops is becoming a little bit more important. Now, what's interesting is, I always thought, there's no waste in fixed ops. These guys work really hard to get the job done. But the reality is, the people are the same, whether it was before or after the pandemic, meaning that they have incredible tooling at their disposal to blow up their business. But yet the adoption rate is still very, very low. And although everybody says, oh yeah, no, the focus is on fixed ops, well, the focus has always been on fixed ops. The problem is they're not going about the business the right way. Many of them. When you walk into a store and you ask how much of your budget is devoted to fixed ops, you'll find most people look at you funny because they don't have a budget tied to fixed ops. Okay, as crazy as that sounds, but there's a saving grace here. There's a silver lining. You don't need a huge budget to blow up your service business. There are 2 free tools that every dealership can use. Free. Did I mention free? You know what those 2 tools are? And I'll speak at once.
Telephones, maybe?
No. Phone. What's that? Google?
Maybe one of these?
I feel like I should answer this.
Or
Facebook,
maybe one of
Instagram,
these?
TikTok, LinkedIn.
In in two simple words, Google and social media, okay? Those are two free tools at every dealership's, at every business's disposal. And I'm gonna give you a couple of for instances. If you effectively leverage Google and social media, you will reach more people and you could cut your ad spend by as much as a third. No joke. It doesn't matter what the business is. There are 2.99 billion people just on Facebook alone. In the dealership, baby boomers are still a large percentage of their business. So, but stores still focus on old school advertising. They spend tens of thousands of dollars on Google AdWords, which are very hard to compete with. You think it's any coincidence that there's 20 aftermarket shops clustered around the dealership? I don't think so. So they spend all this money hoping for a different result. Now, you have to change, right? If something's working, you do more of it. If something doesn't work, you do less of it. If the market changes, you need to change with that market. Now, the Google piece of it's easy. If you go online and you look for a particular dealership, pick whichever one you want, put their name in the search, and then open up another browser and put their name plus service in a search. And more often than not, what you will find is they don't have a separate Google service page or a separate Google parts page. If a store sells 100 new cars a month and they service 1,000 cars a month, customer pay 1,000 ROs a month. All right, you look at their Google rating. Here's a store that's been in business for 30 years. They have 200, 300 Google reviews at a 4.2 star rating. If somebody's searching for the best, you name the brand near me, they have the option to filter by score rating. You can search dealers that are greater than 1 star or better, 2 star or better, 4.5 star or better. If we're going to search for the best experience, which filter are we going to pick? 4.5 stars or better. So the store that's been in business for 30 years, that's rated at 4.2 stars, just dropped off the map. They're no longer recommended. You have 12,000 opportunities per year to get a service review on your Google service business page. And it's not just getting reviews, it's structuring the review. And what I mean by that is think of whatever the search query is that the person's going to look for. Best brakes near me, or brakes near me, oil change near me, whatever the case may be. When your customer comes in and they've had one of those services done, you want to engage with them. And you want to ask them, hey, did we take care of your problem today? And this is assuming you've taken a test drive with them afterwards. Oh yeah, I love it. How long has that brake squeak been bugging you? Oh my God, for weeks. So you're happy now? Oh yeah, would you not agree this is the best brake job near you you've ever had? Oh, absolutely. Great. Hey, would you do me a favor? Sure, what's that? I'm gonna send you something right now to your phone. So you send them a text. What you're doing is you're sharing your Google service page with them. You hear their phone go ding. Open that up. I just want to make sure it opens because they don't always open. They open it up and now they're staring at the 5 stars that they can give you. And you just coach them about, isn't this the best brake job near you you've ever had? Put that verbiage in the body of your review and hit send. Boom.
That is, Paul, I got to tell you something. It's amazing. Most people in fixed ops, forgive me if I'm wrong, don't shoot the messenger. They're not thinking this. You've got a salesperson thinking about it because they want the business. They want to stay good. Go Joe's Auto Dealer. But a service person, many, many times, or even a parts person, let's not kid each other here. Hey, are you happy that I found you this great deal on tires? I'm the only guy that could get you the 375, 75, 51-inch tires that you on the market? Yeah, do me a favor. Answer to this link. The sales end of things do it. That's fabulous. Thank you. And
I got another thought there. It seems kind of counterintuitive that dealers aren't doing this, but it shocks me. They got all kinds of specials on the sales side of the house. Why are we not focusing on parts and sales service specials all the time? I mean, not only do you want people to come in for an oil change, but you want them to ideally come in and do other things. And we don't even talk about that. Like if a grocery store didn't have a special, like every day, like there'd be an issue. But some dealers have no specials at all on the parts side or the service side of the house. I mean, how funny would it be to say to a customer, not only do we have hundreds of 5-star Google reviews for service, we have hundreds of 5-star Google reviews for our parts department. And actually, when you call them, they actually don't say, "Can you hold?" They say, "Can we help you?" Like, well, what a monumental. I mean, you could even do a TikTok video on that. Like, hey, at our store, we actually have people that answer parts questions. What a thought.
Here's how Google rewards you. So when the customer puts that specific verbiage in the search, and I'm searching for best great job near me or great job near me, those reviews, the verbiage is highlighted and pushed to the top. So you become the automatic choice. That's the first part of it. The other part of it is social media. Okay? Social media is good and horrible at the same time. You could spread the biggest amount of crap, and most of your friends will believe it as if it's gospel. We are at any given time one bad experience away from losing a customer for good. Reality is here, customer expectation is here. And they effectively utilize social media. And I'm not talking about the hostage photo. Are you familiar with the hostage photos? Here's Paul in his new car. Here's Bob in his new car. Here's Phil in his new car. Nobody cares. 500 of that? Are you kidding? It's like there's an AK-47 to the back of the guy's.
I would debate you on that. People care. People care.
To a certain degree, but if you have 500 and it's primarily hostage photos, not going to make it. On the other hand, if I leverage my good customer in video content, people are lazy. Hate to say it, but it's true. In video content that's less than a minute with their customers, and they check in, they say what a wonderful place you have. When a friend does something and checks in, do you not all get notified? If the average person has 500 Facebook friends and 10 of their friends check in, it's 5,000 people you just came across the feed at zero charge. In the back of somebody's mind, the first time their own dealer pisses them off is when they're going to remember, I don't have to take this. I'm a good customer. I'm paying money. But I know 10 of my friends checked into XYZ Motors, at which point, hey, Paul, yeah, my dealer pissed me off. I know you checked in at XYZ Motors. Who's your guy over there? Who's your gal over there? Boom, you get the referral. And how do I know this works? Because content is still king, regardless. When you put out a lot of great video content, it gives you greater reach. And here's the proof in the pudding. We own a yarn shop in Niantic, Connecticut, 1,000 square feet, okay? Nobody needs yarn. Nobody. But you know where we ship to? Australia, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Denmark, Chile, the UK, Canada, all over the US. Guess how much we spend on Google AdWords? Anybody want to guess?
Zero.
Zero. The video content and social media and building a community and leveraging that community to spread your messaging. That's how people will come. And at a dealership, they need cars. They need to service their cars. Cars are on the road longer today than they've ever been. It just crossed the 13-year mark. People taken out of the market. Banks have pulled back. Rates have gone up. Average price of a car is 50 grand. Are more people keeping their cars? Yeah. Do you need to service those cars? Yeah. But we're still holding on to the old school methods. You want old car business? Here's a novel concept. Go to a sliding scale labor system and add in the option for parts from Napa or another aftermarket company.
Yeah.
Hey, they sell more parts than the OEMs do.
Yeah.
Why not leverage that? Give the customer the option. Say, hey, listen, I realize you've got an older car. We want your business. We respect you. And that's why we're offering you this special rate on labor. And we also want to make you aware, we offer 2 grades of parts. The original equipment part that the OEM makes, which costs X amount. I feel it's a better quality part. The tolerances, the life, all that is better. We also understand that not everybody can pay for that. So for those folks, we offer these aftermarket parts. Here's the difference in quality. Here's the difference in warranty. You decide. I bet you that half the people, even if they don't think they can afford it, will find a way to get the better parts. Because I'm sick of buying crap stuff. I'd rather spend more money to get a better part that I don't have to replace as often.
Understood.
So these are things that the automotive, the fixed ops is not doing. I talk to people, I tell them exactly what to do.
So Paul, maybe Gail wants, thanks for all that. So maybe Gail wants to talk a little bit about, I know we talked a little bit about TikTok videos at Used Car Week San Diego last year about how many watches the TikTok videos got from the service department. Maybe she wants to talk a little bit about video, but more importantly, social media for car dealers. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Paul, I love the points that you brought up because my company does social selling for the car industry for service and sales. So I find it fascinating because I'm in the same boat as you. It's free, it's a tool they can all use, they can all build a brand. But the funny thing is they hire us and pay us to teach them. So we teach their technicians and we teach their service advisors, and they don't use the free tool. They find companies like us that will still train them how to use a free tool. So I do workshops on it at Driving Sales and Digital Dealer, and we show them how to create like you said, content is king. Half of our program is the same thing, content is king. And we teach them, customer deliveries, new car offers, used car offers, service offers, parts offers. What videos do you do? What posts do you do? What headline do you use? How do I use emojis? What emojis do I use? So I find it really fascinating that you're bringing this up because I'm on the same page as you, but my company wouldn't even exist if car dealers used it as a free tool. My company only exists because they pay people like us to teach them. It's so crazy. And I stood in front of a room. I remember last year I stood in front of a room. There were 150 dealer principals in it at President's Club. And I stood on stage and said to them the same thing Paul is saying right now. You don't need me. And they're like, well, why are you here? I'm like, because you pay me, because you could do this yourself, but you choose not to. Exactly. So you choose not to for whatever reason, time, learning curve, efficiency, speed to market, right? Like speed to market is a big deal for them. And bringing in a company to train them, speed to market in 3 days is easier than letting salespeople figure out how to use social or technicians to figure out what they should post. So it's more like speed efficiency thing in the mind of a dealer principal. But I agree with Paul. It's free and they could honestly just do it themselves.
It's amazing what's available to us that people don't use.
Yeah.
So Jeff was, there you go. There you go. So Jeff, was there anything we forgot to introduce or what are we doing? Those are Gail's glasses from last year.
Those are Gail's glasses.
Yeah, I handed those out to all the dealers and then I filmed you guys and put you on TikTok.
Well, it's also important to know what the age of the audience is in a particular area, right? If you have to know who your customer is, know what the demographic is, and then know where to share that content. Boomers, Facebook, 30 or less, TikTok. There's all different demographics that live in certain spaces, and you need to be in all those spaces, reaching all those customers. And if there isn't a market, you establish one. Don't wait. If there's no road, rent a bulldozer and trailblaze one.
There's no question. And this has sort of gone off our intention of the show, but actually it's banging on the intention of the show today. It's creating new opportunities for areas that exist but nobody's seeing it. And Paul, you really hit this on the head, and Gail, you took it from there. And as Larry said, we're in the people business, but we seem to forget that the back end of the business, and I know that term is actually not a popular term with a lot of people, because it implies it's secondary, but it's being viewed as secondary. And, service departments are not actively seeming to engage to draw people into them. They're just passively waiting for things to happen. And, can you imagine if the service advisor did what Paul said? Hey, let's go on, let's do a Google review for XYZ Motor Service Department. Or a service advisor did a TikTok with maybe the customer doesn't agree with it, but does a TikTok with saying, aren't you happy your brakes aren't squeaking? Like, holy cow. Now, by the way, we're going to go on Google and leave me a great review. And the customer, what do you think? And they go. So, before we move on to the next topic, this topic, great. I mean, frankly, this is what we're all about. We love it when it just goes. And Paul, you haven't disappeared anymore, so you have not ended up with the board. So that's good. All we hear about is new car vehicle shortages. How is this affecting fixed op side? And I'm actually going to turn to Joe because I see Joe is very, very intensely looking at things. But Joe, you're connected on all sorts of sides, and you're also become our newest evangelist. Peter, be nice to him. Just judging by your post recently.
Hey, and nobody needs to be nice to me, man. I'll go toe to toe with anybody.
Well, no, but not in the show because we're a very kinder very quiet.
Man, you guys even armed? What is this?
We're
Yeah, I got
Canadian,
two
we
arms.
banned arms. We banned arms. See, we don't have arms.
All right, hit me.
Well, no, it's how do you think this shortage of vehicle product and Paul was saying that we're moving into a little bit more of a consumer
Favoring,
sorry?
consumer favoring market.
Like the
Consumer
buyer
favoring
has a little
market.
bit more power in this one, maybe. I don't know. I think that a lot of the stories and a lot of the horror stories that consumers have from dealers come from the idea of moving a vehicle today, right? If somebody came onto a Chevy lot looking for a Chevy Bolt and there wasn't a Chevy Bolt, or they knew there was a Chevy Bolt coming in a week or a month, they are incentivized to sell that customer a vehicle today, right? And this comes back to the motivation of all salespeople is to sell something today. And if somebody's in the store today, your best chance of selling them something is today while they're in the store. And I think that it's doing them and the customer a disservice because rather than listening to the customer, understanding their needs and giving back what they want and maybe taking an order, maybe taking a deposit, maybe finding a way to do something today, they're looking to close a sale that they can get down the road today. And I say that not necessarily in the context of EVs. I'd like to say this another way. Going back to my two-wheeled experience, my motorcycle experience, if there was a limited edition product coming out, if there was a limited edition CVO Harley or something coming out, there was probably zero chance or very close to zero chance that I had it on my showroom. But I could get it. I could order it. I could spec it out. I could build the customer something close. I could find out more about them and say, well, is that something they really want? Or do they just think they want it because they heard about it? Or maybe they want the hot new engine, but they really don't want it in that bike. They want this other bike. So that gave me an opportunity to sell them a bike that we did have, upgrade the motor, do some other upgrades. So I think the opportunity here is to really listen to consumers, get them what they really want, get them happier, get them that vehicle they're going to feel that connection with, that they're going to wash in the street and wax in their driveway on a Sunday afternoon, that they're going to be excited about and thrilled to own and experience for 8 or 10 years, that they're going to have their kids in the car and talk about how cool it is that they bought this specific vehicle over another one. And, in the same way that when I was a kid, we would talk about, my dad's 48 Chevy, it had 3 on the tree and a banjo steering wheel and why he thought these were cool when he was a kid. You're not going to get that out of a commodity. So I think if we're reducing the amount of inventory, we're actually giving an opportunity to build that excitement back into the consumer relationship and build that connection back in there. and look at customers as someone who's going to order a vehicle and get the vehicle that they want, and they can do it from us if we treat them like human beings and we're cool, or they're going to go somewhere else if that's the vehicle that they actually want. So I don't really know if that's answering your question. I feel like it's not, but I don't think it's a problem. I think it's like anything else, right? It's an opportunity to do things a little bit different, maybe a little bit better. And I think that the rush to have 300 vehicles on the lot and, you know, be able to walk a customer from one to another and move it out the door today, I think that has a lot to do with why we've lost our connection to vehicles. We've turned them into.
So how does that translate into the back end? How does that experience when somebody comes in and they either wait for the car they want, or they got to take this one at a crazy price? How does that affect them in the back and in the service end of things? Now, it was interesting you mentioned in the bike, because the bike side of the world's really easy. You want that CBO with the new 124 engine? Well, you know, I don't got it, but I'll tell you what. Come on over here. We're going to get you this Road Glide, and we're going to, you know, our guys will put that on. But how does it translate just into normal stuff?
But that absolutely translates to the automotive world. When I got into this from the other side of it. I was in an aftermarket company when I first got into the car business. I was with a company called Dynan that was doing go fast stuff for BMWs. So if you had a 328 in the showroom and somebody came in and wanted an M3 or an M3 CS, you know, competition coupe, you couldn't do that. But hey, Mr. Customer, what's important? You're talking about the handling, the exhaust. No problem. We can sell you this one right here. I'll call my buddy Joe at Dynan. He'll ship us all the parts. We'll put it all in. We can wrap this all into the payment so that it's just another $189 a month. And you can have something custom and even more rare and special than the M, and maybe even a little more hardcore with this Dynan thing. And you know, and we were doing $3.5 million a year just in suspension parts. So I don't think that that's a fair thing to say. I don't think it's like, well, you have it easy in bikes. You can do this in cars. You just have to, you know, be able to think on your feet and be willing to work as a team with sales, parts, and service to be able to put that level of customer service in front of the consumer and offer them that option. Because otherwise, the only thing you can do is say, I can, you know, try to dealer locate. If the other dealers won't play ball, I can try to sell you something you don't want. Again, take that opportunity to build that rapport, give them what they really want, and you will find a solution. There's not a car company out there from Hyundai to Volvo to, you know, Ford or Chevy that doesn't have a broad and deep aftermarket well to be able to give people exactly what it is that they want.
Oh, 100%.
Hey, Joe, one of the problems with the shortages of cars is salesmen have gotten really into the mode of, no, we don't have it. We've lost the art of saying, no problem, we'll try to find that for you. And by the way, I have this, and this, and how are you going to use it? Oh, that's great. Tell me more about your job. So much of the social element has disappeared. And again, dovetailing it back to the original point of the discussion, that's more important in fixed stops than anywhere. Because as 100%. Jeff said, people are excited when they come in to buy a car. Who the hell gets up and says, great, I'm going to get my transmission service? But when those people are personable and friendly and make you feel welcome, you change the whole dynamic. And we've talked, and I'm tired of talking about it. I've been on so many shows recently. You lose the tire business or the oil change business, you lose all the damn business.
Yeah. Paul, you had a thought?
His hand, but he's too polite to just start talking.
Paul had a thought.
To answer your question about
Paul is busy knitting a sweater. He's got all that extra yarn in him and his wife.
To answer your question, Jeff, how does that impact the service end of things? It impacts it insofar as it gives them many more opportunities. The challenge lies in switching from old school thinking to new school thinking to capturing those opportunities. That's how it affects. That's how the product shortage affects the fixed stop side of things.
Yeah,
more opportunities, but less willingness to try new things. All these places that you go where people converge to cheer each other on. Nobody wants to hear new ideas. They want to rehash the same old ideas. And if you're not clapping for somebody, they don't give you airtime.
Understood.
It's just a fact.
Brian, what do you?
Opportunities, but they need to take advantage of them.
Thanks for that. Brian, what do you think?
Well, for me, it all comes down. I mean, we talk a lot about, the social media marketing and things like that. At the end of the day, we should have to market anything. I mean, we have a captive audience. We sell 100% of the cars. It's like a razor company selling the razors and then not selling razors afterwards. So, I mean, we have a captive audience. We sell 100% of the cars. To me, this comes down to even, consumer experience. To me, is not even the issue. The issue is employee experience and what we're doing to, and that kind of goes into the next topic, attracting new people. But this is we don't do a good enough job of really laying out what it is we're doing. We have to out Starbucks. We have to out Chick-fil-A. We have to, this is the kind of experience we have to provide. And we have, I think, in my opinion, in today's day and age, with technology and tools and digital and all that, we have an unprecedented opportunity to be able to hire the right people. We don't need to hire car people. I mean, I think you can go to, I always use Disney as an analogy. Disney will tell you when they look at people, they delineate everybody that applies for them. There's people that love Disney and then people that love providing the Disney experience. And they're generally categorically different people. In fact, most people that love Disney aren't the ones that they hire. People that they hired were the ones that actually want to provide the Disney experience. That's very, very different. And we don't need to hire car people in this industry. We need to hire people that Ritz-Carlton would hire, that Starbucks would hire, that Chick-fil-A would hire, that Nordstrom's would hire, that understand their job is to provide experience. And then we provide them the tools, the technology, and the training to be able to, in the process, to be able to deliver the consumer experience. And that's where all of it starts, in my opinion. And that's what we're getting wrong from most perspectives.
But Brian, sometimes you hire those people with fabulous attitudes and they get poisoned and trampled on at the dealership. Because if the culture isn't positive and isn't inclusive and doesn't really revolve around the customer, you're dead anyway.
100%. I mean, absolutely 100%. You have to, to me, that comes down from the leadership from the very top of the dealership, is understanding their job as a dealership. That experience sells cars. Experience is what ultimately fixes cars. We're not in the car repair business. We're in the car sales business. We're in the experience business. And that's where all of it, anything else we're doing, we're just basically putting Band-Aids on symptoms that are not being fixed from the get-go. And that's where a lot of focus needs to go.
You mean fire marshals is not an answer? The fire department is not an answer to the problems here? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
And I was a little shocked with Larry. He's talking about inclusivity. I'm impressed. Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
No, it wasn't. One interesting comment though. You mentioned Starbucks. You go to it's very rare that you have a bad experience at a Starbucks. And what is there, like 46,000 Starbucks locations? And it's very rare that you have a bad experience at a Starbucks or a bad person experience. They run out of their Frappuccino, mocha latte, cinnamon, spice, but a bad person experience. Yet, how many dealerships can say that it's rare that a customer has a not great experience when they go in there? Dealership, not string of dealerships. So that's a fantastic point. We just want to touch quickly on the topic just about people, and then we're running out of time. My favorite comment that many of you have heard is that it seems that the mothership from Independence Day beamed up 1 billion people out of the world because we can't find people. But so, Brad, I'm going to go back to you because we were so patient waiting from the beginning till end after everybody took over. What are dealers doing different, or are we doing things differently to attract good people, especially in fixed ops? It seems that sales is that nobody says, I want to be a service advisor.
A lot of that, like I said, what we did at Lincoln was just that. We completely redesigned our processes, implemented technology across. Now, granted, it's a luxury experience, luxury vehicle. It becomes a little bit different when you get into the commodity brands and the volume brands and things of that nature. It's a little bit easier. It's easier to do all the things we're talking about. If you're talking about BMW and Audi and Lincoln and Lexus, but those brands represent like 10% of the vehicle volume in the United States. 90% of the vehicle volume is Hyundai, Kia. These are not vehicles that they're highly customizing or that they really identify with. They're utilities, they're tools that they drive on. And they just need to make sure they work every day when they go out taking kids to school. And so I think that's where you have to get into the mindset who you're hiring, and you have to hire people that understand customer experience and customer service. And I will go back to Lincoln and did that. We completely changed the game at Lincoln of that people we were hiring. We were not hiring car people. We were not hiring people that love the car business. We were hiring people that love concierge, hospitality, consumer experience, that would go to work at Ritz-Carlton, that would go to work at Nordstrom, because they understood their job was to take the burden off of the customer. Because if they're engaging with service, and I think that Larry was saying this a minute ago, I gave a keynote speech on this a couple of years ago around the consumer experience when it comes to service. I always ask this question to everybody: what's everybody's favorite moment of their car ownership? From when they buy it to what's the favorite moment? Anybody know? Anybody got any opinions what the favorite moment is?
When they pay it off?
This is actually a survey that was done.
When they pay it off?
Their favorite moment is the first stoplight that they get to. It's not when they get the keys, it's not the test drive, it's not when they sign the paperwork, it's the first stoplight. Because they're absorbing, they're smelling, they're seeing, they're looking at the dash, they're feeling the leather, they're doing all that. That's their favorite moment. It's a peaceful moment. Anything after that they have to deal with the dealership or a repair shop is tantamount to a checklist of their daily chores. Taking out the garbage, doing the dishes, mowing the yard, going to the grocery store. They don't want to be dealing with it unless it's accessories. And again, that's a very small percentage of the industry. We are generally dealing with people at an inconvenience level because they never want to be coming in. Nobody wants to get their oil changed. Nobody wants to get the tires rotated. They never want to do those things. To the most worst morning that ultimately your 15-year-old, 16-year-old daughter drives to school to check in something, or the battery's dead and your wife goes out in the morning to take kids to school. That's the moment that we have to arrive, is at that moment. And it's those systems we put in place of people behind the desk that understand that that's their responsibility, is to take the burden off of the customer at that moment. And using the tools that they have, the technology to create a concierge type of experience. And that doesn't take a car person to understand that. That takes a human that cares about humans and creating a human experience.
Hey, Brian, that survey, did that only include two-seaters? Because I had some pretty interesting backseat experiences that were a lot more fun than stopping at a street light. We'll talk after.
Always leave it to Larry, but the color in.
There's a reason that they make that face palm emoji.
Well, Jeff, we're down to the last 3 minutes, so maybe everyone has some final comments. Why don't we start with Peter? We haven't talked to him in a while.
Well, gentlemen, I can't stress enough that the show is an amazing show that brings to light all the issues that we deal with in the car business on a daily basis. Today's show with Fixed Ops is truly understanding that it's a sales-oriented operation that has to be developed just as hard and as intensively as variable. We have to train our people. We have to make them understand that it's about customer experience. We have to make sure that they understand it's about, most importantly, over customer experience, over sales, over everything. It's about customer retention. And we have to retain that client. And the only way we're going to do it is not CSI, it's experience. And that's so important in today's factors.
Thanks for that. Paul, any final thoughts?
We overcomplicate the business. It's really simple. There's 3 simple steps. Commitment. Once you have commitment, then you need a solid plan. Once you have a solid plan, you need to execute AF. Knowing what to do and not doing it is wasted time. If you apply that simple 3-step formula to anything in life, you will do well at it.
Thanks for that.
I have to comment on that quickly. I'm sorry, Paul. It's perfect. We make everything so difficult. It's mind-boggling what we do. We give people formulas, and you see people in all ends. And I love watching advisors that have been given a formula for customers, and you see them sitting there going like this, going, and the customer knows it. And if we keep it simple, keep it engaged, treat them like we're wanting to be treated, not like we should be. It's phenomenal. Thank you.
Wendy had a comment. She's on a plane, it looks like.
No, I'm actually in my living room.
Oh, okay.
I had to fly to Washington yesterday to help out a friend, so I have full rule of the roost today, and it's kind of exciting. I'm working a little bit in every room in the house today, musical rooms. Anyway, so I have to say that, first of all, I think the most of all of you and your brilliant minds, and I'm sitting here enjoying being a fly on the wall today, and I keep hearing the same thing over and over again, and I remember these same things we're talking about. I mean, even to the extent of Peter mentioning that he left automotive and he had to come back because the state of affairs is so atrocious that he wants to try and affect change. Guys and gals, we're the ones that are going to affect change. And the thing that is, they're doing the same thing. The things we're telling them to do. The sales to service intro when someone buys a car. We've been saying this for 30 years. I've been saying it, well, not 30 years, 20 years since we opened our first BDC, and how important it is for retention and everything else. We're beating our heads against the wall. We're repeating the definition of insanity. So the only way we're going to affect change is if we continue to have the conversations that are going to reach the ears of the right people that are finally going to execute. Because I'll tell you something else, whether you probably do realize this, but not subjectively as I do, and I'm getting kind of ticked off, and they call me Mama Shark, and I'm walking into NIADA with this mindset that Mama Shark ain't playing no more. Because we give and give and give and give and give, but our dealers that we're here serving are not affecting change in their own backyards because they're not pulling the trigger. Because I, as a woman, might state something like it happened to me this morning in Clubhouse. And I love David Long with all my heart, but I'll be damned if I didn't say the same thing. And all I got from him when I suggested, well, make your service intro part of your Wi-Fi from us and put it on a kiosk, roll it, let your service customers know, your potential sales customers know, this is a Wi-Fi from us. This is how we do our customers. So even if they don't buy from you because they save $200 on an older invoiced car, 100 miles away, maybe you get the service retention if you tell them how great your thing is. And then do a virtual one, a video for those that aren't there, or for the after hour TOs, or for the salesman who's lazy, who's tasking, who is, what is it called? Being transactional and not relational. We need to be relational. And I can say it as a woman, I can shout it from the rooftops, but until the right man in the right 20 group says it to his homies, they're not going to.
Says it to his homies. Wow. Mic drop.
That's what I got. Well, you know me, I'm honest with that.
You might be saying it's a boys' club, is it?
No.
But when
I love you all.
Who are the homies is the question.
Homies. I think that was another thing, but
Rolling with the homies?
Exactly. But you know what? Interestingly enough, if you lose a sale, what do you do beforehand so you don't lose a customer? Impress them with your service department, impress them with your parts. So if they go buy that Nero with the 22-inch wheels on it, etc., from somebody else, they come back to your Kia store and get it serviced.
Totally.
Right.
Exactly. Awesome point. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I've hammered it home for many, many years. We're on year 4 of this, so we do this every week. It's about customer experience, but more importantly, it's about people. And, a lot of that is listening to people. It's funny. I spent a lot of time in dealerships. I was just in Alberta. I drove across Western Canada, visited a bunch of dealers. And what shocked me the most visiting multiple dealerships was how few salespeople even bothered to say hello and try and sell me anything. Like, I got in the showroom, I'm walking around. They didn't even attempt it. I was just shocked with just the lack of ADD from the Candy Crush or whatever they're doing. But, that's all fixable. But the first thing you need to do is hold your people accountable, but also really have a process with measurement and goal setting. And I think that that's something that really maybe managers aren't doing enough of, or maybe they're more interested in hanging with their homies. I don't know. But the celebratory checks are only part of the solution.
How do you get attention in a dealership in Alberta, Texas, Utah, Nevada,
Donuts.
Colorado? You walk in and say, I want to buy a truck.
Donuts is how you get attention.
Donuts, there you go. Donuts. But then you get the cops that follow you.
Yeah, donuts, always.
Folks, we've run out of time. I thank you so much. What a lot of fun this was, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us again. And this could be virtual, Paul, virtually.
Yeah, maybe he needs to be beamed up at the end.
I think so. He might have been caught somewhere between the transporter and the Starship. But thank you so much, Paul. Wendy, I just love seeing you, man. And we're going to see you in about a week. And
We are. We're going to be on the stage together.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And you may want to watch that video. There was some aliens that they called the police in Las Vegas. There was supposedly a 10-foot alien. The police were like, "Don't call us if there's an alien. We're not handling that."
That was the inflatable alien on the roof.
I don't know. It was interesting.
Hey, as long as he doesn't eat much, bring him.
Brian, thank you for sharing your opinions. Paul, I'm going to leave it to Ian to close the show, and thank you all.
See everyone in Vegas. And of course, if we can help, just ask. Season 4 is now here. Bye for now. Have a great week.
Have a great week. Ciao for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh la. What?
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.